large numbers. People support these ideas, so it is populist. It's not Republican. All right, and then the addendum is you lose points for not supporting term limits. Who wants term limits? Everybody wants term limits, right?
No.
Democrats want term limits too.
Literally like 90% of the country.
Yeah.
That's why the rest of
They're not going to vote. This is the one thing. They're not going to vote out. No one's going to self-vote out themselves. Well, you will. You're American.
I will.
Okay, you will. But
I hate DC.
DC itself, as an organization, will never vote out its own power. Therefore, since we can't get it done another way, how about we put this intense pressure on them? And if they don't do this, then there's a point. If this becomes a thing,
it's from the voters.
What?
That takes away power from the voters.
What?
We legally can do it at the state level too.
Yeah. So we want to put pressure to have them do it. Same with no lobbying for 10 years after Congress. They're all depending on that money. That's where they're going to make their corrupt millions. No, 10 years after, they're not going to agree to that. But we're going to make them sign a pledge to it. If they don't, it's going to ding them. So when this becomes a thing, we're going to have a lot more leverage to get what we want as people, because we're not going to force it by law. We're going to say, we're not voting you in unless you agree to these things. You like that? That's why this is important, that this becomes popular. We have to keep 9 justices of the Supreme Court, and we have to support transparent, free, and fair elections. There's a couple more points I didn't include in that, like the hypocrisy point, and if you're for divisive politics, you lose that. And then there's 3 points. 3 points almost lose your entire rating if you're hardcore for political violence or mob brutality on either side. If you support outright bigotry, racism, sexism, or anti-Semitism, or homophobia, Dan Martell would fall into that category here. If you support communism, fascist, or other totalitarian ideologies, we know what's her name, that dingbat, the Muslim woman, what's her name? Ilhan Omar. She would get this one. And so would, who's that guy? Keith Ellison. Keith Ellison, he's in his list. He's for fascism. He would lose this one. So people are going to lose big, there's a few people that are going to lose big scores. Not many, but a few, okay? So that's how it works. And this is Jonathan's system. And it's very technical. And when we're going to take a break, we're going to get into the system for those that are involved in the scoring system, okay? So Jonathan and Jim are going to have additional slides for that, and then we're going to break off and talk about the other groups about education, training, and fundraising. But there's a whole system here that takes a lot to do the scores. There's an interface. We're figuring out how to do the interface with what you're going to see, how you're going to look people up, what's going to show up. It's really cool. When it's all put together, there's going to be an app. We're going to raise money. We're trying to raise $5 million, so it's going to take money to do it. But we're going to, we want it to be so you open up your app, and then when you look at it, you don't just look at the score. You actually can see what went into the score and how that broke down, and then you can see the data where we say, oh, here's the bill they voted for, here's the statement they made, here's their website that gives that policy. Wow. We go along to the Progressive Caucus, you're a socialist, period. We don't have to go any further. The Progressive Caucus is socialism. So that's all we need. So some of them are really easy. You know, you belong to this certain caucus, you're going to get this rating on this one line item. Some of them are harder. Free speech on campus we found very hard to find. It's hard to find free speech on campus. That's not like I'm just so dedicated to that because we need to have open campuses. So a lot goes into it. We look at their ratings. We look at other rating systems. We look at social media feeds, their websites, their media appearances. There's a lot that goes into it. Believe me, it's a lot. It's hours of research, and we have 5 different levels. So we have 5 different chiefs. So there's people here now that head up one point of opportunity, and we call them the 5 joint chiefs. Joint chiefs of opportunity, right? The joint chiefs. And so they're going to each have one area of specialty. That's how we do it. So there's a lot that's going to go into this that we're doing, and Jonathan's doing a lot of great work along with Jim and others on the team. And then here's some samples, and I left them in my car. In fact, they're probably outside. I forgot to bring them in. But I have big boards. So here you have JFK. JFK is a Democrat, but yet so slow. My computer's acting really slow. 4.25 out of 5. See, do you understand see how easy it is to see the scores? Mm-hmm. So personal, very strong in the Constitution, strong in the economy, a little bit weaker on social, but he was strong in educational and national. Reagan was perfect here, but he pretty bad when it came to the age crisis. He was pretty bad on that. Not good on racial relations really. Wasn't his focus. Nothing wrong, but you can see it's honest. He's not like God, he didn't do good in the social area, but he did good everywhere else. That's why he's a 4.5, and that's where he got his score from. So as you go down, Bush, very bad on a number of areas, and he lost a point because he, right after the election, was like, oh, everything's fine here, there's nothing wrong with the elections, everything's fine, it's free and fair, see everything work. He lost a point on election reform because you can't say that. I mean, we have 50% of the country that knows there's fraud in the election. He's just going out and saying there's nothing to see here because he hates Trump. So he lost a point there, but he was also very weak on the Constitution. Kind of weak on the economy. This guy, I mean, you could probably imagine he wasn't underwater. I mean, he poor, but he was social and educational. He was weak, but he wasn't underwater. And of course, personal, economic, and Constitution, borders, police, military, bad. We would, if this system was in play 10 years when he was elected, he might not have been elected. I wish we could go back in time and install it and then bring it back and be like, we wouldn't have all the pain from this guy.
I have a comment though. I mean, I don't know if we want to have a whole conversation about it, but when I was showing this to someone and I was like, well, you know, it's unbiased, it's not nonpartisan, and sort of showing him this thing, and then flip by the Obama one, and you could just see his face. He claimed to be independent, probably leaning liberal.
Yep.
And you could just see his face when the Obama one came up, and it was like, you know, so I was like, I don't know, that is going to be like an instant turnoff to people if we want to say this is a nonpartisan.
The thing is this.
Most people were.
Oh, you got it. You're outside.
They got
Are
rained.
basically liberal.
Oh, it's
Anybody
raining out
who would have been liberal and liked Obama.
But if we're trying to make this a tool that people can use, it turns them, they just be like, oh, you guys are obviously.
Thank you for getting. Thank you. Okay, so this is the thing. What we're going to face is the backlash we're going to face is we're going to face people that one answer we have is we have Joe Manchin that actually is
Right, and I did show him that, but it didn't mean as much as this.
Okay, so the thing is this. The principle is that the Democrat policies are the problem because they're voting in lockstep. They usually vote together in lockstep. And so the Democrat platform is very anti-opportunity. I want to rate the Democrat platform and rate the Republican platform when we get enough together, when we're deeper into it. Once we get a whole bunch of people rated, like maybe we have enough sample size, I think when we get through the first 80, we'll have enough to rate the parties. And the reality is that the Republican Party is much more on the side of opportunity, and the Democrat Party is much more on the side of anti-opportunity by their policies. So we are going to get a lot more Democrats doing poorly, and they're going to say, well, then you're partisan. But our answer is actually no, because all of these policies, it shows the opposite. Americans are here, this is where we want, and the fact that Democrats are getting elected that are here means there's a problem with our democracy. It's not making any sense. So it is true, they're going to see these negative, but we can back it up with data and say, here's what Obama has said and did on the economy and with the police and the military and race relations and all. And here it is, and look at the data. But you're right, we're going to get people saying there's so many Democrats that are underwater and so many Republicans. But that's because the populist principles are supported by, in principle,
And I'm not saying we want to do this, but if the left side of this, if the right side of the scale said pro-constitutional American, traditional American, and the left side said pro-progressive American, that would probably be, I mean, so our bias is by saying the left side is the word anti.
Well, it's anti-opportunity. We don't talk about parties. What's something by definition is anti-opportunity. If the majority of people are against,
people are going to see it that way. That's all.
Yeah, they're going to see it that way. There's no way around it.
He's
The
right.
reality
That's
is,
why they're gonna show
we're not
us.
going to get the far lefties agreeing that we're a bunch of evil kooks, okay? They're not going to agree to it. But what we want is we want all Republicans on our side. We want about 9 out of 10 independents. They're independent because they're pissed off at both parties. They're going to ideally love this. And then about 30% of Democrats believe that we should have voter ID law. 30% of Democrats, about 30% is a good number of Democrats that are.
And I'll just say the conversation, where I went with the conversation was, and this is another thing we've talked about, is you'll be able to go in and rate yourself.
Yep.
And then see where you stand, and that could be the eye-opener, because you're like, oh wow, I don't align myself with these other Democrats, I align myself with people who actually are affiliated with.
They should have to do that
Yeah,
first.
that's the key point, is that
That's
the
the key
criteria are
point. John,
objective.
we should have to
So
do
you
that
point
first.
people to the criteria and say,
They
hey,
should
look
have
for
to
yourself.
rate themselves first.
Yes.
Well, this is the thing. It'd be good. First, there's 2 points. There's a couple great points here. So one is people can rate themselves and see where they stand. That's number one. Number two, I'm not.
Where 80% of the polls
Yeah, and they're gonna find out they're probably more on this side.
Populist positions.
And the other thing is, we can change this to like, I hate using the word progressive.
No, I don't want
It's hard for me
to.
to do it.
I,
saying-
I don't want to do that, I was just saying if
Yeah,
you
so,
did, then.
but this is the thing, this is my thing, if you align yourself here, and the data is the data, so we give the score, but they can go in there and say, I want to do a different score. I like the fact that this person, I don't like the Second Amendment, I don't like the First Amendment, I want to kill babies up to birth, I want to do those things. Then you can say, well, you can be happily sitting here, and that's okay, you can use this score, you can invert it. You can invert this score and say, I want this person, because they're on the side, I agree with these things, right? But just be aware that you're going against the majority of the American people. So in this democratic republic, you are in a position where you're not going to like America, because Americans are the ones that are, so if you really can't stand it and you're going to be out on this fringe, you might want to go to another country. Because we're here, and by definition, we're for opportunity. So if you really are an anti-tyranny person, you want an anti-opportunity candidate, then maybe at some point you should really consider moving somewhere that's more aligned with your ideals, like North Korea or Venezuela or Communist China.
And if you flip them, because it's almost like you're walking them to one side.
No, we're not flipping it, because this is progressive. People read left to right. You always see negative to positive. It always goes left to right. So we're not
No,
changing
but
it.
if I'm being a devil's advocate,
Yeah. Well,
the left is bad.
this is on the
You're
left,
going
this is
to
on the
that,
right. I think
you're
that's
leading
okay.
them to the right.
A little subtlety, this is the left, this is right. We're
Think
you're
of it-
negative to positive. It always goes left to right.
In terms of the title is the score and the picture and the one number. The subtitle is the information below. And then if they really need to dig deeper, they can always go to the criteria themselves.
Yeah, so
to find
the thing
out.
is this, the left takes the word progressive, the left takes the word Black Lives Matter, they have all these ingenious things to make people believe nonsense. This is our chance to be the people that are smarter than them. we're actually, people are going to be shocked when people on the right kind of come in with this system where it makes the left look bad. Well, yeah, you guys do it like 99% of the time to us, so finally we're outsmarting you. That's what it comes down to. They're not going to used to be, and again, we're not on the right, we kind of are, but we're more like, what the right wants is what America wants. What the left wants is what they don't want. And that's the reason why if you're a far leftist, you're going to do terrible with these scores. So you see, like, Tim Scott did great. I had somebody pissed the other day because they think he's a rhino. I'm like, this isn't a rhino score, this is on principles.
Maybe one thing we could do, if we actually, I don't know.
He gets a
if-
full -5.
If we had the populist position.
Yep.
And had like a little American flag that showed 60% American, and so that you could see where that
Like on
is
the right
the
here or
scale.
something like that, a little bit of like, see, well, the thing is, there's 5 different points within it, so we'd have to average them all.
I'd take it out and put it somewhere else where here's how we rate, here's this. Maybe like he's saying, in another section say, here's where the average American, falls down, here's where this is.
Well, we're gonna have
And I
that.
think you need to drill into it and be able to see,
Yeah.
we rated this person on this because they voted for this.
Or if you're an incumbent, if you're not an incumbent.
If you're not an
you have to
incumbent,
look at
they say they want
Well,
this.
that's why I'm saying, John, you have to do yourself first. So you
We
see
don't
where
have
you-
to do yourself first,
Well,
but the
I
idea
think you
being,
should.
Everything.
we encourage, we have a self-grading system to see where you stand. And that's gonna be the eye-opener, because most people, and this is the thing, they wanna make us believe that there's a big division between there's this big civil war, that we disagree on everything, but we actually agree on most things.
But
And that's the cool part about
that's
the
why
system.
I'm almost saying you have to do it to advance.
Yeah.
And then you go to the next level, which is
Well, maybe to see the data or
what
something like
the
that.
data shows across the country.
Yep.
I mean, that makes it
Before you
really,
can even see comparison between
that
politics.
makes it really easy. If you can rate yourself and then rate, and you can see it instantaneously, and then you're
Yep.
looking at the 2 people you gotta vote for, it's like, well, this guy's not good, and this guy's
And,
good.
and people like taking the self-assessments, if you do it quickly enough, and see, and people are gonna be like, am I pro-opportunity or anti-opportunity, right? Joe Manchin, now, I don't like what he was doing with the election law recently, last week, but up to this point, he stopped HR 1, he stopped the filibuster destruction, so he's doing pretty good. He's like a Republican. He's doing better than some Republicans. Seth Moulton I ran against. Yeah, I didn't even give him a -5. He probably deserved it, but he had a -3.25. He did terrible. Anything under a 3 is horrible. Under a +3 is horrible, okay? But, I was honest. He actually got social opportunity was pretty much, didn't get a bad score, otherwise he's a complete moron, an idiot. And much more than that I can say. Okay, so that's, let me just get through the rest of these. So, guys, you guys have your creeds there? You have your sheets? So I want to just do this and tell me what you think of it. I'm open to modifying it, but a lot of organizations like the New North Carolina GOP, Ingrid's on here, she told me that what they do is they have a creed they read. They do the Pledge of Allegiance, and then they read a creed. All right? So, guys, pull out your creeds and tell me what you think of it. All right? Because I would like to, this would be a good way to reinforce when we have our meetings. So we get all on the same page. As Catholics, we like our creeds, you know? But there's political creeds. This is a political creed, okay? So, tell me what you think of it. Okay, we do the Pledge of Allegiance. Normally, I probably should do that every time I do it. Pledge of Allegiance. Under God, indivisible. Okay. So, I believe the purpose of government is securing unity, liberty, and opportunity for all citizens in America, and that we must focus on the principles which unite us. Oh, I forgot the word proud. Unite us to bring power back to we the people and away from the corrupt political, economic, and media establishment elites. I follow the GOUSA 5-point opportunity star, advancing the universal principles of personal, economic, social, educational, and national opportunity for all. I believe that we must hold our elected officials fully accountable and champion those who support these principles of opportunity while actively opposing and working to democratically replace those who do not. Do you guys like that?
Why is power back capitalized?
Power back to we the people.
Unite us to
Because
bring
It's
power
not,
back, what?
okay, but it's not, I was wondering if it was referring to something specific that.
no, we just don't want to like power back to the people.
Highlights it, yes.
I like power back to we the people.
But to bring, yeah, don't forget the title.
Yeah, the typo. So, do you guys, what do you think of that as a creed? Like, we want to be clear about why we're here. We think that the government should be standing for unity, liberty, and opportunity. We have to fight the power that's controlling us, unconstitutionally, illegally, by the way, and bring power back to the people. We believe in the 5-point opportunity star, the purpose of government, and that we need to hold our elected officials fully accountable and throw those people out that are not standing with us.
What about our constitution?
That's in, I didn't say the word constitution in here, but
Well,
it's kind of implied, I think.
In a way, this
Yeah,
matches
the,
up with the purpose of the Constitution, because that's kind of trying to enshrine the same rights, so
No, but you're.
it's a good idea,
assuming
you know.
The majority of people in this country are gonna make that. A lot of people are lazy in this country and they're not gonna make that.
Most adults have not read the Constitution past high school.
No. So I'm open. You guys have any suggestions? Email them or let me know. We can talk about it. But do you guys like this idea? Does it make sense? Is it clear?
Would you consider putting liberty before unity? It just sounds like a strong word. Securing-
I always go unity, liberty, and opportunity for all. It's been the way forever. I mean, liberty, unity just doesn't flow as good, I think.
What about life, liberty, and pursuit of opportunity?
We don't want to put life in there because it's going to trigger everybody to think we're only pro-life all the time.
What about safety?
Unity,
Well, I mean,
you can't have unity without liberty. And
Opportunity really fast.
unity delivers liberty, liberty delivers opportunity. I mean,
Franklin said that.
what?
Very safe when you're in a prison cell.
Well, you want the word safety in here?
Well, listening to conservative
We're the
radio, I would say,
Catholic.
what else is the purpose of government but to ensure our safety?
Well, security, safety. I would use the word securing, unity, liberty, and opportunity for all. I mean, buried in that, I think there's
I mean,
an
liberty,
element
safety is probably included in that, because otherwise you can go down and get to the word, and you have other.
Okay, so guys, that is the creed that we'd read, okay? I'm open to, I can use the word constitutional liberties if we want. We add that in there.
I just think it should be in there because A, it's not taught. And
Yep.
most people don't, if you ask people about the Constitution, can't.
Maybe just saying unity, constitutional liberty, and.
Well,
That
our
would then-
slogan is not changing. Unity, liberty, and opportunity for all is locked in stone forever. But we can always add other words around it, but that thing is like a trademark slogan.
The Constitution doesn't.
It's like,
grant
it flows nicely.
natural
You
rights.
can't cover everything for everybody all the time. It's like a slogan. But I think it covers the most. So I'm open to putting the word constitutional in there. Okay, so the elevator pitch, this is important, guys, and then we're gonna break, and then we're gonna break it into different groups. This is not a creed, but this is what when we're talking to people, guys. Guys, can you guys listen for a second? BJ, guys, can you please listen? Focus. The elevator pitch is important because we can't sound like we're all over the map, okay? So what we came up with is this. Again, it's open to making some modification, but we are a diverse group of concerned citizens who believe that the purpose of government in America is securing unity, liberty, and opportunity for all, and not transferring more power and control to our corrupt political, economic, and media establishment elites. We believe in bringing power back to we the people, focusing on those principles that unite us, which we just went over, and dramatically reforming American politics by, number one, exposing fraud and corruption while holding our elected officials 100% accountable through our first-of-its-kind political credit rating system, the GOUSA Opportunity Score. No one else has that. That's a big differentiator, and it's very important that we do that, obviously. Number two, motivate, educate, and mobilize citizens to advance political and civic literacy. And GOUSA's 5 points of opportunity through educational outreach tours, videos, and events. So we're not going to get anywhere unless we motivate, educate, and get grassroots activities out to people to get the message out there. And number three, engage and recruit our next generation of leaders to take office at every level of government. So we're getting screwed because so many Democrats have infiltrated our school boards, government, because they're obsessed with control, so they love government. They're the weirdos in the school council that wanted to be, they're the C-minus students that are in control, and we're sitting back and they're ruining our country. So we need to engage these people. So it's basically, the big picture is fighting the power that's taken over our country, giving it back to the people, reforming politics by the opportunity system, holding them accountable, and then getting the grassroots activities to spread the word and get people engaged. And then we need to get people to run for office so we can actually take back our country democratically, much better than the alternative. We don't want to have to take out the Second Amendment for that. Although Biden says, we don't have nuclear weapons and F-15, so I guess we can. And then we want to be the new voice of America. So the big picture is, if we do all this, we're going to be like, dudes, you both, and I was in the surfing industry, so dudes, seriously, honestly, both parties are out of control, and the system is broken, but we stand for our opportunity, and we're going to take our country back that way. Okay? And you guys like that? That's pretty much where that sums up the presentation, except for...
Where do we get a copy of that?
Yeah, you should circulate it.
You want the whole presentation?
I can't remember it from that.
Sure.
Yeah, I can email this out to everybody, but the thing is, it's a Dropbox. It's like a 50 megabyte file, so I can't email it. So I can send it through a Dropbox thing you can download. But you should have, if you take this around and memorize it, that would be good, because we need to get on the same page and we're all speaking the same language. Again, like Brandon at Walkaway, it's very simple. Walk away from the Democrat Party, then you had to walk with for people that were already out of the Democrat Party. Very simple message, very effective, awesome. We need to make this as simple as that, the best we can.
Is this a PowerPoint or a Google slide or
It's
something?
all this stuff. It's these principles. What?
Is this a PowerPoint?
I can make a PDF, but it'll still be 50 megabytes. You can't read all of it.
Yeah.
So we're trying to raise $2 million this year, $3 million next year. We got our work cut out. We can't do this off nickels and dime. We do need to raise money bad, so we need to raise about $10,000 in the next few weeks because we have bills to pay to get to CPAC and do advertising and stuff. We need to raise money very soon, a couple hundred at a time, a few hundred at a time, whatever people can get. I need to get on the phone with my donors for my campaign. We need to raise money. I need a fundraising committee. We need a development officer, and then we need to go out to some big donors and say, don't give money to the RNC, don't give to the men. And they believe me, they don't. A lot of Republican donors are so pissed. I'm like, you guys are actually the real deal. I'm actually fighting a lawsuit. Like, they can't give their money. And much better spent with us than giving it to some black hole, RNC or GOP, and then you have no idea. And they don't stand for election. Oh, by the RNC has 7 big principles they're fighting for 7 major things, which are all good. Guess what's not on the list? Election integrity. It's not even on the list. It's not even on the list.
They won't talk about it.
They won't talk about it. So that's, you know what? We're sitting in a gold mine. We could probably raise so many millions of dollars because we're talking about it. We're fighting a lawsuit and we're talking about it. So,
Just at the state capitol, we were trying to get the statewide audit in New Hampshire.
and they're holding it up. The Republicans are holding it up.
No, they're both holding up. The Republicans are acting like it's not happening. There's
Yeah.
like 3 state reps that have even shown up in support.
No, they're all, you know what? Remember, the people that got in office are happy. That's why part of the problem is, in Massachusetts, the legislature all signed this stupid, dopey, unconstitutional bill because they're dumb. I mean, they must all C-minus students, I hate to say it, but that's true. Helen Brady came up with that. I love Helen Brady. She's like, they're C-minus students. I'm like, that's it. That's what they are, a bunch of C-minus students. And they're running everything. And also the ones that got in, like we got in, it worked for us, right? So they're not that incentivized to go do anything. Like, we got in. I got in. Why should we worry about
It
it?
also sets
By
up
the
a
way,
constitutional crisis if all of a sudden you did an audit and you find out that the election didn't go the way that it went. There's nothing in our constitutions that say, hey, we can undo this now.
Yeah.
There's nothing there. So all of a sudden you find out that, hey, the guy sitting in the chair didn't actually win the election.
Well,
Now what?
well, you
There's
could.
no mechanism.
Well, you can impeach, but the Democrats won't impeach their own guy.
You can impeach, but they'd have to impeach, and I mean, I'm not even talking Biden. I'm talking any state rep, any state senator, anybody that,
You don't have to impeach, you have another election coming up, you immediately just invalidated anything they do in office. And I'm not saying you're going to just, everything they do is null and void, I'm saying is, if Donald Trump, and say this, Arizona, Wisconsin, all that shit, turns out Donald Trump really did win.
Mhm.
Our bill doesn't allow for anybody to be taken out of office. It was passed unanimously, which makes it the most nonpartisan bill in American history. It was passed unanimously by the House, the Senate, and the governor. And the third largest governing body in the world. So there's no disagreement. You can't get Trump back in office before Biden's out. And it's not happening. I don't care what anybody says, they're all lying and grifting off it. I know personally it's not happening. Right. Now, the fact is that if it is proven that he really did win, guess what? He has an absolute case for getting elected in probably the biggest landslide we'll ever see, probably since Reagan, in 2024, or anyone that he backs, which most likely, from what I'm hearing,
So,
Trump's.
by the way, there's talk about Trump running for Congress in 2022. Gets into Congress, gets elected.
that's the fanboy.
The fanboy, then he gets
Speaker of the House.
He becomes Speaker of the House, and then Biden and Kamala are thrown out because we take back the House and the Senate, and they impeach them. I don't know how they're going to get 3/4 of states and everything else to impeach them. I don't think. I mean, if you can be a Democrat and be a mass murderer, look at Hunter Biden. I mean, you can do whatever you want, and you get elected. The son of the president is like a criminal and a racist and everything else. You coke, crackhead, and it doesn't affect Biden at all. So Democrat. But the thing is, the opportunity thing would change that, though. What?
What I keep hearing, he's not running. He's probably going to back Ron DeSantis and Tim Scott.
Yeah, that's what the rumor is.
We'll find out.
Okay, guys. So I know it's been a few minutes, and everyone, let's get up, get some energy. Please, we're gonna take a little break, and then we want to break out. Who wants to raise your hands? We have the 3 teams. We have a fundraising team. We want to get raising hundreds and thousands and millions of dollars. Okay, thousands and millions of dollars. We have to work on that. And we have a fundraising event in August. We are holding up the date because we're trying to get Rick Grinnell with us. Rick Grinnell to join us. You guys like Rick Grinnell?
Oh, yes.
So we'd like Rick Grinnell, and depending on where the cards land with Joe Manchin, it's sort of like he's a good Democrat comparatively, but I'm not happy with this whole election reform bill. It's kind of weird, but we want to get controversial. We love Kim Klajcik. We love him. Love her. Love her here. Love her here, and then of course we want to get Julie and other candidates. We'll have a candidate. Have a half hour. You guys can each say a few words. We're going to get a bunch of candidates up here. So we're doing that in August, and we want to raise a lot of money there, but we don't want to lock in the date until we can find out Rick Grinnell's availability.
We're gonna have that here.
Maybe we're going to have a big tent. We can probably do it here. Why spend thousands of dollars on a venue? I think this works.
If I do my event in SNHU Arena on the 22nd, I'll have you guys to come and make a presentation there.
Oh, on the 22nd? Okay.
I'll try and do an all-day event with Mike Lindell and the whole team, voter integrity in the morning, activism in the afternoon.
Perfect.
And hopefully your ratings is.
Okay, all right, let us know about that. I would love to do that. And Mike Lindell, I have his personal cell number. He doesn't give many people, but he loves my lawsuits. So I'm in touch with his attorneys, and we're just going to, I get to drop the dime and say, can you write us a little check for about $5 million, please? You're a billionaire. It's only a little rounding error for you. All right, so we're going to see if he'll support us, Mike Lindell. Okay, so the big thing, that's good news. So we have the rating team.
Meets
Um,
here, the rating team. meets
Rating
in this spot.
team's meeting here, and then we have our activism training education team will meet in the living room down over here. And then we'll figure out where to go for, so raise your hands if you want to be on the